Hi, good afternoon. A very warm welcome to everyone joining us today for this fantastic webinar that we have planned for education professionals, school teachers, university representatives, and anybody who is interested in higher education and school education in around the globe. I have a fantastic lineup of speakers who have graciously accepted our invitation from OP Jindal Global University to host this webinar. I'll be introducing them all shortly. But what I have to say is that we have got good representation from the South Asia region. We have representation from India, Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka. We also had a representation from Bangladesh, but unfortunately, due to health issues, the counselor is not able to join us. His name is Tohid. Our prayers are with him, and we hope that he gets better soon. But unfortunately, he will not be able to join us, and we will try to do our best in talking about Bangladesh context as much as we can. Myself, Ankur Vohra, I am the head of outreach and international admissions at OP Jindal Global University. We are a leading university which is located in Delhi NCR, India. We are a research-based liberal education interdisciplinary university. And a university which has now, in the short span of 10 years, we are a young university, has achieved global laurels in terms of world university rankings. We are amongst the top 800 universities, and we are also an institute of eminence, a nomination which is given to only 20 universities out of 800 plus universities across India. So I welcome all of you. The agenda for today is effect of COVID-19 on schooling in South Asia. As you know, all of us around the globe, and it's not only about South Asia, but regions around the globe are coping with the current pandemic situation that we are in. There are lockdown situations across the world. Our daily lives have been affected very badly, and a lot of our daily routines have been disrupted. One of the key areas that has led to a lot of disruptions is schooling. Absolutely, the schools our students are facing the brunt, our teachers are facing the brunt of this lockdown. It's been almost 3 months for us in India. Our schools went into lockdown in mid of March, and I think similarly the rest of the South Asian region also went in lockdown. And ever since, the schooling has moved to online mode. But there is a story there. And why did we plan this webinar? Was because we wanted to bring you the stories from the South Asia region, which is one of the most populated regions in the world, has a strong, I will say, a developing region of the world, not very strong in terms of infrastructure, across the country for education, but still in the metro cities of the South Asia region, there is good infrastructure and private schooling and government schools which are up to par with global institution. So I was doing my research on what is happening in education and what is happening with regards to online education. I found a report from UNESCO which talked about the adverse consequences of school closures and lockdowns and teaching going online. And I found it would be a relevant start to this session to talk about what is happening with online education. The UNESCO came out with this report, and which said the closures of the school was directly related to interrupted learning. We all are agreeing with this. A lot of our children and youth are being deprived of opportunities for growth and development because of closure of schools. Now, private schools definitely in bigger cities can adapt to online learning. But if I talk about my country, India, the smaller towns, the villages, the people at the lowest of the bottom of the society are definitely people who are most effective. The disadvantaged people are the most effective, which has led to, because not everybody, even today, even after India being one of the largest countries in the world with internet connections and a lot of development has been done, not everybody has a Wi-Fi connection or even a laptop to start their online learning. So definitely it has led to a lot of interruption in learning. Second stakeholder are the teachers. Teachers definitely have a lot of stress involved in their lives. Not only have they had to deal with the lockdown stress around them, the well-being of their family, their immediate family, their children, their family members, but they also had to work double hard, make more efforts to make sure that the schooling continued. The students that they are directly responsible for, their education continued uninterrupted, and they had to adapt. They had to adapt overnight. There was no time frame given. There was no lead time. They had to overnight adapt to online learning. Now, this is again a very important part, and I must salute our teachers who over a short span of couple of days made the jump from traditional classroom learning to online learning. And we will be talking about that also in our session. The third challenge that definitely we are facing is how do you validate learning? You can have lectures online, you can have online sessions, but then how do you assess how are your children learning it, whether they are, what are their issues in terms of learning, are they grasping what you're teaching them online? So the definite disconnect between personal connect, which is missing nowadays between teacher and the students, is definitely leading to how do they measure the learning abilities. There is a lot of stress for teachers. There is equal number of stress for students who are now forced to adapt to online learning. As I mentioned, they had never done sat in front of a screen for about 3 to 4 hours a day to learn lectures. Now they are forced to sit in front of screens, learn with online learning. So it comes with its own stress. So definitely there is a challenge there as well, and then challenge for both teachers and students on how they measure and validate learning. Parents have been again another important stakeholder holders for this situation. Parents have to be now doubly involved in their child's education. They have to make sure that the student is focused on education and they are adapting. So they had the role of parents has also become very important. Not that it was not important before, but now it has become that parents support students, and again parents have to devote more time to students. There are people who are going for jobs uh, uh, that are now, which slowly the lockdown is lifting. Now I hear complaints in the media of how they want the schools to be open too, because if schools don't open, how will their wards or students be able to cope up with online learning, because if there is no supervision. So there are challenges in parents aspect as well. Social isolation. I think we all know this saying which says man is a social animal. We all love being on campus. I, for one, having worked with OP Jindal, which is a residential university, definitely miss my connect with my students. And similarly, when I talk to students, they talk about missing on small things that we used to take for granted on campus, which are now missing because we are all either doing Zoom calls or doing YouTube live or Instagram live. But that is another issue. Another issue which is very important, and again I'll talk about the underprivileged children, is their pure nutrition. Most of the developing world governments offer midday meals. Like in India, we call it midday meals, where students are fed in the schools itself. So there was a added advantage of students going to school and getting meals which are free of cost provided by the government. But then again, that complete infrastructure has been dismantled because of the lockdown, and that is another issue that UNESCO highlighted, that probably food and healthy nutrition is going down for students. So though there are these are just some of the issues that I thought I should highlight today with regards to the lockdown happening and the kind of countries that we come from, the South Asia region, and the issues that our students are facing. Just to give you some numbers, again, these are numbers from the UNESCO website, which says that in a country like India, we have almost 300 million plus uh, uh, students who are affected by this lockdown, or whose education has moved online. These are 300 million plus students in India, and there is a breakup of pre-primary, primary, secondary, and tertiary education. but imagine the kind of numbers that we are dealing with in terms of the COVID-19 closures. Similarly, for Sri Lanka, we have about 5 million students who have been affected by this COVID-19 crisis, and this is all data which is public data available on UNESCO's website. Bangladesh itself has close to 30 million students who are right now under the influence of COVID-19 lockdowns, school lockdowns, and there are huge numbers in hugely populated countries like India and Bangladesh. Definitely, the numbers for the governments are a big challenge. The diversity is a big challenge. Nepal has about 4 million students who are affected by this COVID-19 situation. And Bhutan, again, has about 180,000 students who are affected by the COVID-19 pandemic school. So, as you can see, we have been facing this region being the most populous and a developing part of the world is facing a lot of issues in terms of the numbers of people that are affected by this. And that's why I thought we all have been affected by attending a lot of webinars, and a lot of my colleagues told me that there is a rush of webinars happening. But I think this is a very important conversation, and that I wanted to have with bringing together all of South Asia together. So I would now like to bring upon my panelists. I will start with one of our fantastic counselors from India, Shikha. Shikha, who is working as a career counselor at Step by Step School, Noida. Shikha has been a clinical psychologist. She has done an MPhil from a prestigious Delhi university. She has counseled numerous students. She is a well-known face in international education circuit. She has traveled across US universities, Canadian universities, Australian universities. She has thousands of students that she would have counseled across different regions and even in Indian universities. So I really wanted to bring in Shikha to talk about her experience. I just want to mention Shikha represents a brilliant school. She is representing one of the most well-known schools in India, top schools in India. And I thought to start with Shikha and to learn from her experience of adapting to online teaching and her schools and students and parents' experience. So Shikha, if you can please help us out with your experience, and we would love to share it.
First of all, thank you, Ankur. Thank you for this opportunity. It's great to be here today. And yes, we are all dealing with the new normal, which is online or blended learning, as we are calling it. So I think schools adapted very, very well in India, in particular in the metros, to online learning. Teacher training happened very fast. We were working overnight, double shifts to learn online, to get into Zoom, Microsoft Word, and everything. That wasn't an issue. The issue is, like we said, we don't represent only India is too big. There are many realities of India. So one of the realities is also those students who do not have access to internet, or parts of India have been suffering. We've had the Ampan, we've had this, that. So it is the breaking of internet, network issues. I was joking with another friend of mine that network issues is the new road traffic. When we were late for meetings, we used to always say, "Oh my God, there was so much traffic in India, at least in particular."
Yeah.
And now we say, "Oh, it's just so simple." So these are the new realities of life. Just like we dealt with the traffics, we have to deal with these kind of realities. Yes, children switch off their videos, and it is difficult for them to adopt. I'm going to touch base from the point of view of children. A lot of it Ankur has covered, from midday meals, as we call them in India, to the fact that a lot of our students do not have access to internet, which is a basic thing right now. But the main challenge for children is to adapt to the online method of learning. I have a 9-year-old, and the very fact that she cannot go back and ask her teacher a doubt which she could in person, she didn't want to ask in front of the whole class, is missing now. How many emails can a 9-year-old shoot to their teacher, right? Though the teachers are working extra hard. And I remember from a particular experience where she came back and told me she didn't understand a particular context. And immediately I had an SMS from the teacher saying, "Ma'am, she didn't understand this. We are waiting for her. Everybody's gone. Tell her to come back." So teachers are going beyond and extra, but how much can we give access to the students? Videos are shut off, network outages are happening, so it is difficult to connect. I tried taking a couple of classes with my IB kids, and with their videos shut off, really I felt, were they listening? I had to adapt and keep asking questions. So how many of you know about test optional, how many of you know about this happening, so that I could hear some voices. It was like I was talking to literally nothing. So definitely both teachers and students are adapting to this. Rightly pointed out by my colleague Ankur, a big challenge is for teachers working from home. We have families to cater to. So they are saying, and increasingly a number of studies are happening, the kind of stress that teachers are dealing with, which is also very, very real. Sometimes our laptops are shut at night because we want to listen to everything. Every webinar sometimes is important. We do not want to miss out on individual university webinars. So that fatigue happening, and in the background you can hear this and that going on. Like ma'am said, rain is happening. So those realities are now realities. But online is here to stay. So much so that even STEM courses, just like medicine in India or abroad, are going to be taught online for the fear of not spreading COVID, which is rightly so. There are going to be lab adjustments. My biggest worry was for two of my students who are going to study medicine abroad. They kept asking, how do we do it? But they have to done it. I especially attended a webinar, and the university said that even medicine will be taught in blended modes now. Nobody wants to have 300 students crammed in a class anymore, at least not for a few years down the line, right? So we have to adapt to STEM courses becoming online now. Universities have to adapt to hostels, dorms. These are very real concerns. There could be 4 kids in a room in hostels. They were designed like that. Now they're going to change that. Parents' fear are very, very real. Traveling from one city to another in India, whether their child school or universities at another place, it's become a real concern. I had a parent who called me and said that, ma'am, their son is in grade, like in fourth year of their program in UK, the sandwich program, and the very real concern was she kept saying, I'm not sending him back. And I said, ma'am, I mean, in the fourth year, are you going to make him start his undergrad all over again? There is going to be no transfer in the fourth year in a lot of Indian universities. Something for you to think about, Ankur, representing India. What is he going to do? He has to go back. And a very real fear, as a parent, I share that fear was, I don't want him getting corona. I mean, fair enough and simple. We don't want our kids to get corona. So how are we going to plan opening of schools? That is a big reality for India. There are schools in smaller towns which have 50 kids crammed in a room. That is the reality for us. How are we going to do it? Is it going to be odd and even? Then that means also teachers are going to be coming in and day out. They can't teach odd set of students and not even set of students, right? Having examinations. So we have to adapt to this blended learning. There's so many online tools available now. It's unbelievable. From test taking to quizzes. Yes, we have to train our students to adapt to that. But yes, we have to plan it better in the sense that there is too much information overflow. Maybe review of syllabus. Something brilliant that has happened by NCRT is they have reviewed the syllabus for grade 9 to 12th at least, and it's very, very nicely catered. They've cut down on what was not needed. So we need to do this. We need to make learning more experiential. Simple experiments with kid can do on offline on their own, yet adapt to the blended learning. Something which is very, very real is Zoom fatigue. It happens to us. There are days when we don't want to attend another webinar. I'm sure some of our attendees listening to us feel
Yeah.
the same way, right?
Yeah.
So Zoom fatigue, especially for kids, research has shown that 1 year hour of online for them equals to several hours of online. Do we want to expose our kids to that? Every activity is now happening online, whether it's dance classes, theater classes. Like we are saying, we can't stop life. We have to adjust to the so-called new normal. So a big question for schools and universities is how to plan social distancing, whether it's dorms, housing, whether it's classes. And what is here to stay that we need to really realize is online blended learning is here for STEM, for law, for everything. Kids have also adapted beautifully to it. Part of the reasons that I started working in school, I would mention I'm a clinical psychologist, is because of the resilience that kids bring in. They've started youth parliaments online, internship mentorships online, they've done STEM programs online, mentors are volunteering. So are we going to see more of universities volunteering to have these free resources available, mentorship from professors available, from teachers available? Is there going to be a lot of intra-school collaboration, in the sense that our school's going to be collaborating with each other, sharing resources? Something brilliant that has happened is we can share resources like teachers, which was not happening before. So it's open to all. I'm sure many of us who are working in schools have seen a prank where another kid's school or another class's students attended your class. We all caught them, Miss Matter. We caught on with that, but that is something that we need to do. Sharing of resources for the betterment of our students, planning it better, not overburdening them or inundating them with information that is maybe passe, and making sure that they have access to quality learning and a lot of resources which are free of costs. Parents are suffering layoffs, fees is an issue, which I'm sure Vinita ma'am is going to talk about. She must be facing those challenges as a school head. So, we have to provide resources to them, and a lot of Indians have come up and done that. We are pooling resources. Counselors have come together to share resources and talk about things. So, this is something that we have to realize that it is here to stay. We have to change the way we have been teaching. And believe me, if any community is capable of adapting to change, it is the teaching community. We have to be also mindful of some of the concerns of the parents. Some of them are working. It's difficult for them to monitor. So to be able to understand that these things are real, I think the most important thing I have felt as an educator is that we need to be able to use this time to reflect, to learn, to grow. More than learning from just textbook or set pattern curriculums, we need to really learn from in looking into each other. The other day I was attending a brilliant webinar, and one of the university reps said, right now we are not expecting any profiling to happen. What we are expecting is go back to books, read the Ramayana, which is a scripture. We need to do that. We need to tell our kids. There are days when I tell my kid, it's okay, I don't need you to do that division sum. Why don't you just relax and read what you want to read? So we need to adapt that as educators. We need to understand parents. Like we said, there is a lot of uncertainty. Any university you ask, I'm sure Ankur, even if I ask you how you're going to do that, you're going to say it's day by day. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, how many numbers, vaccination. So let's adapt and let's work together. One thing is, I think let's look inside and really reflect on what we want our kids to learn out of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shikha. I think I definitely resonate. The message that you have for adapting definitely resonates with me as well and my university. And I will be very frank with you. Yes, as a university, we are also taking it as a day by day thing, and we are watching closely how the situation is unfolding. But definitely, as you mentioned, blending learning is here to stay until and unless we have a solution like a vaccine for corona, and which will take some time, at least a year. That is what at least I read in the media reports, that we have to adapt to this new form of teaching and learning, and we have to be conscious of the fact that all teachers and students and parents are under definite stress, and it's like a cocoon in our homes. So when we are lucky being able to do that, being middle class families and upper middle class families, we are able to sustain it. But there are many families that are not able to sustain it, and that is why you see the unlock happening now in India, with the country being forced to open up because it was just not able to keep it under lockdown for any longer. So thank you, Shikha, for many relevant points. I want to now move on to Miss Vinita. But before I do that, just a room announcement. Anybody, any of our colleagues who are watching us, if you have any questions, please type in the questions section. There is a chat box. You can just chat in, put in your question there, and we'll definitely take your questions at the end. So if you have any questions for Shikha, who just spoke for about 10 minutes, any questions that you want to direct to her, you can just write it in the chat box right now, and I'll take it up at the end. Now, moving on to a brilliant educator who I have the pleasure of knowing since last 4 or 5 years, Miss Vinita Shenoy, and I have visited her school. I've been to Sri Lanka, and she has visited us on I think one occasion. Uh, uh, she's a principal of one of the leading schools in Colombo, Gateway College. Gateway College has a brilliant reputation. It's one of the top schools in Sri Lanka, and ma'am has been associated with that school for quite some time now, and has been an integral part of their journey of making Gateway School now amongst the top schools, international schools in Sri Lanka. She has an MBA in HR. She's a graduate in commerce, and she's a strong believer in girl education. So, ma'am, thank you so much for joining us. I would like you to help us out with the update on, as Shikha mentioned, you are a head of institution, and you would have a more holistic overview of how schools were coping up with this situation. Over to you, ma'am.
I first must begin by thanking Ankur for inviting me at this webinar, and I'm also honored to be with a panel of the likes of who are here present. So thank you very much once again. I would definitely agree with everything that Shikha said, but I must begin by saying that from shaking hands to the Namaste and Ayubavan, we will all have to make lifestyle changes for the good. We are going to remember to cover our mouths when we sneeze and wash our hands, not just because it's a good habit, but because it's a survival skill. So change we must. I like this proverb. It says, when the wind of change blows, some people build walls, some people build windmills. Now, something very important has happened in the last 2 months. Educators over the entire prestige spectrum and the entire age spectrum from foundation to graduation have decided to move on. It was not the dentist or the hairdresser or the eye surgeon or the lawyer or the garment manufacturer who thought that they could provide their service through the online media. But most schools with a minimum of resources provided an education platform for learning to happen. Now, everyone worked on the presumption that it was okay to teach, okay to connect and engage with students. And this helped us to move forward in a somewhat back to usual business situation. And this situation to move forward is going to be hard to walk back from. It's going to change what counts as adequate, what counts as good and excellent instruction. We must remember education is not about filling a pail, but lighting a fire. We have been listening to this so often, but I think now it's time to put it into action. So moving forward, I think educators will be thinking and looking at the whole taxonomy about teaching. It was like a huge load of syllabus to be covered, huge amount of syllabus to be covered. And I guess that was an easy way for school leaders to keep track and to monitor on how much the teachers were doing. But now with online teaching, I think we can grasp the concepts. Students will be able to grasp the concepts better, apply it a bit better. There will be a change and there will be a more holistic learning atmosphere. The online platform will provide better learning, probably through research-based learning. And in my opinion, the blended learning and the hybrid learning would be an answer to the step forward. Having said that, let me remind you, technology is not new. It has been here for the past 15, 20 years. Look at the YouTube videos, the educational YouTube videos. Look at how most young parents are teaching their toddlers with the iPad. You sit for dinner at any restaurant and you see the toddler receiving his education and entertainment on an iPad. So how many parents do you hear singing nursery rhymes to their kids? So it is slowly sinking in that online education is not better than or better than the face-to-face learning. It's just another platform, I think. Going digital is challenging, or rather was challenging for people like me, the digital immigrants. but it's a walk in the park for the members of the Zenzers or the true digital natives. And I feel elated because I think I have learned so much. And every day is learning. Every day is something new. And I think it's really, really satisfying. At my school in Gateway College, we had a rather smooth sailing. Our chairman, Dr. Harshalis, is a visionary, he's a pioneer, and without sounding too boastful, I could say he's a trailblazer in the field of education in Sri Lanka. So when the pandemic descended upon us, he herded the team together and quickly we planned it to implement the next step forward. So I could say that Gateway was able to rise to the challenge of the times, and thus prove that school is not merely a building, but rather an environment for learning. Gateway has been at the front of technology in education and now are recognized as the center of excellence. We have also been a Microsoft Showcase School from 2018. And so many of our teachers were already working using tools, Microsoft Teams, and working online. However, the level of expertise was slightly different. So, led by our team leader, change management, and supported by some of the master trainers, we did a few trainings to up their skills so that everybody was able to teach online. And we got started with tools such as OneNote, Sway, Kahoot, and Flipgrid. Though I must say here that more than the training, I definitely think it was the collaboration and teamwork that oiled the wheels for better momentum. People were ready to help and support and learn from each other. Though COVID-19 is a kind of an equalizer in many ways as it affected, the developing countries, the the developing countries and the underdeveloped countries, it affected people of all ages. It affected people of all economic strata. But in its path, it has left huge disparities, furthering the chasm between the haves and the have-nots. World over, I think the schools, especially in remote areas and schools with fewer resources, have taken a good beating. Sri Lanka, by far, compared to most countries in the world, was successful in its fight against the COVID-19. The horrific figures of death and infection coming in from the different parts of the world is not reflected in Sri Lanka because of the good health sector that it has. Similarly, it has a strong education sector as well. There are over 10,500 government schools which follow the national curriculum. You have a few assisted private schools and some private schools which do the national curriculum as well as the British curriculum. And then you have another category of English medium schools, which are the international schools. Now, as for the Minister of Education, he says that there was a loss of about 300 school hours since the day of the curfew, that is since March. However, some urban schools and some universities were able to do some form of online teaching on Zoom for about 4 hours a day for 3 days a week. But at Gateway, as mentioned earlier, we did not lose any school hours. In fact, besides covering the syllabus, we were able to take on the challenge of conducting exams. In fact, when the lockdown was announced, we were to begin our mock exams that very week. And we went on with the same timetable. Rather than a sit-down exam, the papers were uploaded and students did the exams and they uploaded the answers back. The papers were marked. There was a paper discussion and even the results were given. So academically, we managed to do rather well without really much of a problem there. Not to leave our sportsmen and sportswomen out, we have a regular sports program for the sports children where we have skill training, exercises, general exercises for any sportsman, and then also sports specific programs every day for 1 hour in the evening. And not leaving the fun aspect out, we also had, we celebrated the New Year, which they call the Awudu, online. And this celebration we extended not only for the children of our gateway schools, but to all the children in the country. All the children were invited to participate, and it was very, very well taken. Then we also had the prayerful performances for Vesak. Vesak is a religious festival in Sri Lanka. In India, it's called the Buddha Purnima. So that too we managed to do virtually and online. Lot of things were happening. We tried to do as much as possible. We had our parents' meetings via broadcasts where parents were spoken to, informed about subject choices, and something for the new academic year. In fact, the secondary school, we were able to start earlier than usual. We brought it forward. We generally begin in the middle of June. This time we began in the middle of May. And we had a virtual soft skills program for all our students in all our schools. And it was delivered by experts in the fields from Sri Lanka and experts in their fields from Sri Lanka and overseas. So without actually physically meeting, we managed to organize and conduct everything as per plan. To enable all this, though I know it seemed very challenging initially, to enable all the continuous learning, no break in program, this and to see that none of the children were left behind, the school chipped in, and with the substantial investment, we supported both initiatives providing data as well as providing devices so that everyone could come on board. For the smaller classes, we try to have shorter teaching time, and we also staggered the way we had our classes so that if there were more than one child in the family, they were able to use the device because we started classes at different times. Having said that, I must say that today we are hailing the doctors, we are hailing the nurses, we are hailing the armed forces, and for the amazing selfless work they are doing, and they definitely deserve it. But we also need to hail our teachers. Our teachers have been the real heroes in managing the many, many hours of work, just as Shikha said, many hours of work, teaching, planning, teaching completely online, managing their children and managing their families. So I think I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the teachers all over the world and thank their families for helping them to supporting them to carry forward their duties. I can speak for myself, though I am glued to my laptop and I wear the mouse like a wedding ring. I think it was my husband who supported me and enabled me to continue because it was something new. But we had to do it and we had to take it on. From the school side, it is my dynamic chairman. And of course, my superfraligistic expialidocious team. I have a fabulous team and everybody came on, tough or no tough, new or old, young teachers, elderly teachers, everybody came on board. And I think it was the collaborative support that we worked with each other to make something like this happen. Yes, this pandemic has turned our world upside down, but like an hourglass, I think we just turn it back and we start all over again. It's something that I told my outgoing A-level batch who were very disappointed because they could not have their last day in school. And I told them that even if you are on the right track, if you don't move, somebody coming from behind will knock you down. And if you get knocked down, get up stronger. You get up smarter. Step up and move on. So with this, I would like to say, repeat the phrase I started off with. When the wind of change blows, some build walls, some build windmills. And I think we as educators are moving forward. We are making a difference and we are making things happen because the future of the youngsters or the next generation lies in our hands. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Shenoy. That was really impressive. And having visited your school and just a short while back and worked with your teachers. I know what a great administrator that you are, and also Dr. Alice. I have the pleasure of working with him too. So his vision, he's a visionary leader. So my best wishes to you and the team there at Gateway. And now, quickly moving on to my colleague from Bhutan, Ms. Jigme. I just want to take this moment to say thank you so much, Jigme, for joining us. Ms. Jigme is the principal of one of the leading schools, the public schools. So now we are moving to public schools. We had Shikha and Vinita representing the private schools. Now, Jigme represents one of the top public schools in Bhutan, Motihang Higher Secondary School. She's been working there as a principal for last 18 years. She has a staff of 64 teachers and 1200 plus students, and I was lucky enough to be in her school and also knowing her for last many years. I also had the pleasure of inviting her to India on a conference, so I know what a dynamic person she is, and that's why I brought her in to hear what is happening in Bhutan. We all love Bhutan. It's like heaven on earth. We all want to be there someday. I want to be there on holiday. I've been there on the student recruitment trips only to the schools, but I want to go to the Tiger Monastery and those places. Probably sometime I'll get that opportunity. But Jigme, yeah, coming to you, if you can talk about what is happening in your school, how as an administrator and a principal you manage the teachers. So I leave it to you to take it up.
Hello everyone, and thank you, Ankur, for this invitation to be on this webinar. In fact, I was telling Ankur, this is my first time being on a webinar, and it's a privilege and honor to be with all these highly learned personalities across Asia. As everyone around the world is affected, we are equally affected here in Bhutan. As of now, today, I think we have around 48 positive cases. And then all these cases are imported by our fellow citizens who came from other countries into Bhutan. Fortunately, we are very happy to say that we do not have local transmission. No local transmission, and then we are still in orange zone, thanks to His Majesty and the government for all the initiatives that they have taken ever since this pandemic started. And then also there's no death, zero death, and then no local transmission as of now. So this is the situation here in Bhutan. And then regarding the school, as you know, it's been 3 months now. And then as soon as the school was closed, our government have been trying to continue education through e-learning programs. And then for this, the Ministry of Education circulated guidance and SOPs for education in emergency. So right after the closure of the school, around 100 volunteer teachers came together. They came together and then prepared video lessons as per the directives of the government. And then as of now, more than 400 video lessons are aired in our national TV channels. And these video lessons are for children from pre-primary to grade 12, I mean. And also, I think the video lessons are done for all the subjects from pre-primary to grade 12. And these video lessons are also uploaded on YouTube's and then different government websites. But in spite of all this initiative, there are also children who did not have television at home. There are families who did not have mobile phones. Okay. And then some of the far-flung schools could not be reached through these mediums. So therefore, what the government has done is, government took up another initiative, that is to develop self-instructional materials for those children who could not be reached through these mediums. Okay. And this around more than thousands of self-instruction materials were developed, and those were delivered to the children located in far-flung places. And then this was sent through post, and then different schools took the initiative to take this self-instructional material to the doors of every child, especially in the remote schools. And when the school closed, then we started going online. But the problem was the internet package. Many of the parents could not afford internet package, and it's quite expensive here in Bhutan. So what the government has done is, internet the concession were given to the children for internet package, so that they can continue their education at home. And at the school level, as part the instruction of the government, we created a Google Classroom for all the children except for primary schools, where they used other mediums like WeChats, WhatsApp, and then messengers. But for the children, especially in my school, we started with Google Classrooms. And as you all know, for most of the teacher, that was first time teaching online, and it wasn't easy. But I was quite fortunate because my teachers were trained in using Google Classroom since a few years back, and then they were comfortable. But the problem we had was with the children. But I think for the last 3 months, we have been trying our best, and then things are much better now. Our children are able to be in touch with the teachers through Google Classrooms. And then it's also made mandatory for all the children across the country to watch video lessons on the national television. So after watching the lessons on national television, then they are given some added homeworks and then other responsibilities. And these are followed up on Google Classrooms. And regarding, I think, regarding the economic situation here in Bhutan, I think the worst hit industries are hospitality and tourism industries. Most of the people in these sectors have lost their job. However, our government has been able to help these people by paying them salaries with the initiative being launched by His Majesty through His Majesty's Relief Fund. And also another good news is for Bhutanese, the loan repayment, all kinds of loan repayment were suspended for 3 months this year for every citizen. And then I think the government have also been providing food packages to the most vulnerable and affected citizens across the country. And some of the boarding schools, most of the boarding schools, in fact, have also been providing food packages to those affected students across the country. And government have also distributed free health sanitizer, water facilities, soaps, especially in the cities. And the government have also converted most of the hotels into quarantine centers and made mandatory for all the citizens coming from outside to be in quarantine center for 21 days. It is made compulsory and then free for all the citizens. 3-star hotels, 4-star hotels are all converted into quarantine centers for the government. Because of the situations and the challenges related to pandemic, even here in Bhutan, we have a lot of anxiety. Yet we are all looking forward to the schools reopening, since I think as educators, we miss our children and then our schools. We are not sure when the schools would be open, but the government has already instructed the schools to put in place the safety and then health measures if ever the schools have to be open. And the policies and plans are being drawn up by the government if you have to open the school. I thought by June the school would be opening, but it's already first week of June and then still schools are not open. And then we are hopeful that if we do not really have local transmission, maybe few of our schools might open phase-wise. But as of now, I'm not able to say anything. I think that's all from my side from Bhutan. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Stay healthy and happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jigme. Thank you for the wonderful update from Bhutan, and it's really the context that you brought in from a public institution and from Bhutan really helps in diversifying the thoughts here in the panel, because we heard from the two leading private schools, and to hear from a government school, it makes sense for us to discussion. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a good first webinar for yourself, and we do justice to this. So quickly moving on to my last panelist, one room announcement. I can see there are questions already in the chat box. If anybody has any questions for Jigme, I can't take the questions right now, but please put those questions in the chat box, and we will definitely take them up in the next 10 minutes after Mr. Vijay Mahajan has spoken. So I quickly introduce Mr. Vijay Mahajan. He is my dear friend and colleague from Kathmandu, Nepal. He has 35 plus years, almost my lifetime worth of experience in teaching. That's immense. I was reading your bio and it says 35 years, and I'm like, man, this guy has been around teaching for so long as I have been born. So it's an honor to have you on this panel.
Me feel old again.
No, man, you don't look 35 years experience. You look young. I thought you are my age. That's a compliment. So,
Thank you very much.
He represents Buddha Nilkantha School, which is Buddha Nilkantha, which is popularly called BNKS, is a leading, again, a public institution in Kathmandu. I've been lucky enough to be there at his school, and he has hosted me, and we have recruited students, fantastic students who go around the world, from Harvard to Yale to Columbia. I know, and he's a guidance counselor at that school for last, if I'm not wrong, 7 years, 6 to 7 years, and I have been privileged to work with him for many international conferences. We have presented together, traveled together. So thank you so much, Mr. Mahajan, for joining us today. And please highlight, tell us something about your school and Nepal. What is happening?
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for this opportunity. But my internet is being interrupted very badly, so I might go sometimes in between off.
Sure, please. We will manage that.
I'll start. Buddha Nilkantha School, as Ankur sir said, BNKS, is a government designated national school. It was established in 1972. This school was actually established in collaboration with the British government and the late King Mahendra. It was his idea to develop this school so his children and his royal family children do not need to go to Eton or British schools in England for the further studies. The Botanical School is managed under public trust. Main trustees being the Ministry of Education. We have Board of Trustees. We are the first school to introduce the A levels in the country. We have 77 districts in Nepal, and we have students from at least one from each district, all 77 districts. And we take in students in grade 5. We start in grade 5. All the teachers are responsible to go to different parts of the country to conduct a test and bring the students into the school, into grade 5. And this entrance test is a very competitive test. Approximately more than 1,000 students sit for the test, and we bring them only about 120 to 130 students. And all 1/3 of the students are under the government scholarship. And this scholarship is provided to the needy students from weak social and economic and geographical backgrounds. This was initially a boys' school, and in 1991, we started taking the girls in, starting with 6 girl students into O levels. Now we have scratched off the O levels. We have only A levels now, and the national curriculum, grade 11 and 12. We have 42% of girls now. We have A level as well as national curriculum. So we have started online online classes. It's been about 6 to 7. It's nearly about 7 weeks now. I think we are one of the first schools to start the online classes as well. We have 80 teachers in the school, and 1,150 students. All of them. It is totally a boarding school, and the students are not allowed to bring food, no clothes from home. All food and clothes and even the stationaries are provided through the school. So this is a unique school. So in the beginning, when we started this digital learning, even I had a few issues, getting teaching in the classroom, from teaching in classroom to coming to digital teaching was totally a different phase for me. I had to go through different learning experiences as well. On top of that, being a guidance counselor, I'm a physical education teacher as well. So I prefer being on the field and running around with the children. So as Jigme ma'am said, the anxiety is huge for the students as well as for the teachers and the parents as well. So everything is locked down till June 14th. No schools, nothing, but it has eased a little bit. Many shops are opened up, and my part of the this part of the area where my school is, we have the area has opened up a little bit in the afternoon. Also, the shops are open, so we are hoping for the best. And I do not know how we are going to resume the school. Because of fluid political scenario in Nepal, it's even more difficult for us how the government is going to take the step ahead. So this is basically government run school, though it's a public school. The government provides the funding for the scholarship students. That is why the main trustee being the Ministry of Education, we are dependent. So whatever the WHO and the government takes steps ahead, then we're going to follow through as well. So from our school, from Buddha School, most of the students, they prefer applying and going to United States. Seeing this scenario right now, I do not know what their feeling is going to be, and I am also confused. How am I going to, convince the students on what context? I don't know. I'm confused. Maybe someone can tell me, suggest me. Do you think it's a wise idea to go away from the country and apply and go?
Vijay, you are asking us?
Yes.
So I think for me, I think I will suggest for an Indian university context, I am seeing a lot of my students who are applying to us who are planning to go abroad, but now they are not planning to go abroad; they are applying to us. So we are definitely seeing. Uh,
No,
but
because of this
I
corona.
don't understand like if it's an individual student decision. I think a lot of these universities in the West are going online, and but the fee is an issue. Students have the parents tell me, and I interview kids for my university. Parents tell me that we don't see the value in online learning for probably for next 1 year of paying $50,000 to $60,000 dollar fee for an online teaching. So Vijay, this is like I think this, I can't say a generalized statement. I think all students have to decide, keeping in mind their finances, their career goals, and if they are definitely, if you get into an Ivy League university in US, definitely you're not going to defer. You will try and reach there as much, and if you get full financial aid, you get scholarships. But if you are a full fee paying student who are planning to go to a tier 2 university in the West, now probably you have options nearer home. I don't know. Well, this is a question. I think Shikha is there. Shikha is dealing with a lot of students who are going abroad. I think she is the best
My point
person who
is,
can talk about this.
So,
My point is, even if they get 100% scholarship, is it worth going because of this
Shikha, I
COVID-19?
think you should. Shikha that deals with a lot of such students.
it's an individual decision. Yes, we've seen a definite increase in the number of applications to Indian universities, but there are kids who are very aggressive who are ready to go forward with
Yeah.
online. I have two medicine kids who are going forward with online. I am not encouraging a lot of deferrals, though universities are. Yesterday, a university said they're going to be probably capping the number of deferrals because it will impact the enrollments next year. We are all talking about blended learning here. All talking about going online. I'm sure Jindal is also going online. So we can't discourage students from taking a step forward and saying, I am very sure I want to go online with a university and do this. Like Ankur
Yeah,
said,
online
yes,
is okay.
this is a concern for some, but there are students who are saying it's 1 year vis-a-vis 4 years, and we have to
Yes,
understand
ma'am.
they are the youth.
I agree with you. Online is
Yeah.
all right. Online is fine, but physically going there and taking up the college.
Nobody is physically as of now, unless most of the universities have understood. I'm sure if Jindal also recruits foreign students, right? Most of you understand there are travel restrictions and students are not
Yeah.
going to be coming in person. And for students, like a lot of UK universities are saying, we will be delivering in person. I've requested my students to write to their particular university and request them what are going to be the quarantine arrangements, how are social distancing going to be maintained. These are valid questions which parents need to ask so that universities think. But we are not stopping kids from applying. In fact, my whole cohort is applying abroad. So we can't, a lot of A level. I've worked 7 years in an A level school in IB kids. They really look forward to, a lot of them look forward to applications in different parts of the world, including their home country. And even in their home country, everybody in a particular university is not from the same city. They have to travel domestically also, right? So we can't say don't apply. It's a matter of 6 months, say to a year. That's the same thing that we are struggling as schools. We're also going to be online for a year. So we have to move ahead
So
with times and accept blended learning, I
Yes.
think.
In that
so I
context,
think
many students have deferred, so they'll join next year. That is there. But some students, they have been accepted and they really looking forward to joining in this year. But
Absolutely.
Vijay, I just want to chip in and say that we are just about to close time, and there are some questions that I have for Vinita and Shikha already in the. So if you have you want some closing remarks, or have you done your part of updating us about Nepal? Please let us know.
Yes, we are online. We are teaching online. We are teaching learning online, all the subjects, even the physical exercises. I teach in the morning at 7:15 for half an hour online.
Yeah.
Except for my
Perfect.
games and activities.
So I think I will now move on. Thank you so much for your thoughts, Vijay. That's really helpful and help us in setting context for Nepal. Now I'm quickly moving on to the Q&A section. I have first question for Mrs. Shenoy. Mrs. Shenoy, one of our colleagues, Humera, has asked you, she is curious to know how, while conducting exams, you authenticated student responses regarding plagiarism. Did you use any form of proctoring? How did you, I think this has got to relate with the evaluation of the learning of your students. How are you going ahead with the examinations? Are you not doing examinations? So if you can talk about that.
Well, as I told you, when the lockdown was announced, we were slated to have mock exams starting 3 days into the lockdown. We didn't think of any other option, so we thought of going ahead with the exams. We did the exams. The difference was that the questions were set for a sit-down exam, not for an online exam. So we kept that in mind. We still uploaded. We still uploaded those same papers, and we had written letters to the parents, because all the parents were at home, that the exams should be done under parent supervision, and a signature was obtained on the answer script, saying that the parents were supervising the child doing the exam. That is what we did from our side. But having said that, I must tell you, when we got the answer scripts, we did find that some of the students had taken the help of Auntie Google or Uncle Tuition Master or whatever. So the teachers were able to find out from the answers. They were able to identify kids who were not very ethical. But having said that, a lot of the students did do the exams rather well. And so for those who we found, or as you said, we couldn't straightforward say that this one has cheated or that one has cheated, because the parents had kind of authenticated it. But the teachers knew, and so we had to take an action on people who we found not being very ethical. Yes. But it was an exercise for students to understand, for students to be able to show their own character. It was, all these are testing times. This online learning, online is all testing times. We had to move forward, right? We moved forward, we did it. And we gave the students a chance to be able to see what they can do while they are not being supervised by the teacher all the time. So it was a chance they got, and they proved their character by how they answered the papers.
Perfect. Thank you so much, ma'am. I quickly move on to the next question. This is for you, Shikha, and this is from
Just
our
for a
dear
second,
friend.
in case Ankur, just a minute. In case someone wanted to know that whether those marks were taken for any prizes or anything, we use those. We have kept those marks, but we have not given a printed report to the kids with that.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So, Shikha, the next question is from Prabha in Mauritius, who is a career counselor and dear friend of mine and yours, I am sure. So she has asked you, thank you for sharing your experience, Shikha. You talked about collaboration between counselors, teachers, schools. And you also mentioned why not students are joining some teachers' classes and not joining one other. So she's talking about, do you think it's ethical if students ask you to be in only that teacher's class and not the other teacher class, even if they are not assigned to them? So how do you deal with such situation?
What Vinita ma'am said, I agree with it completely, and I said it before also. We need to build on ourselves right now as human beings and be more reflective, like ethical questions. It's a big thing to give that responsibility to your students and parents to be morally right and ethical. So yes, I agree. If there are classes which are pre-designed, and students need to maintain the dignity of the class and say that no, we're going to be in this particular class. But if schools and teachers choose to collaborate and they are open classes, then everybody is welcome. And there are many such platforms now. If you've seen, MOOCs have become free. Universities have opened the reading lists online. So then students must collaborate and share. But if it's a pre-designed class and a teacher has been assigned to you, you need to respect the boundaries, and that is the strength of character that we need to develop right now, which I feel is very, very essential, more than teaching them just textbook learning. Right now we need to focus on that character development. So it depends on whether the collaboration has been pre-designed, then please use it. But if it's not, then we need to respect boundaries and have self-control and do that, take care of that.
Perfect. Thank you, Shikha. The next question is from Vishnu, Mr. Vishnu Jingade. He is asking us that he has a comment, and it's open to all of us. It says all of us are talking about online classes, but not much concern is being showed on side effects which follow as students sit in front of laptop, mobile for long hours. How do you see this situation, and what will be your comment on this? The use of screen time being increased for students. Is there anything that schools are doing to correct this situation? Probably, if Jigme, you want to take this question, or Vijay, you have not taken a question. If you want to talk about the screen time, Jigme, probably you can talk about how you are. How do you think that situation will pan out?
Thank you. I think when you're talking about screen time and Google Classrooms, actually the number of hours and the duration is quite less compared to the contact period that they have in the normal classrooms. So it should not be a huge problem, but I worry that most of the children, I think in the name of studying, they are misusing medias. They are misusing internet. That's a concern from most of the parents. But if we relate it to teaching and learning every day, it is not a long hours. I think most of the children are, I think, learning online for about 2 to 3 hours, at the most maximum 4 hours in a day. So it should not be a huge problem. But I think generally, I think in contact with the internet and then being online is a problem for all the young people.
Okay. And Madam Shenoy, if you would like to take this up, question anything that you're doing for the screen time, how many hours of classes are you holding every day for your students, if we can get some context on that aspect?
Depending on the age of the students, we have kept the screen time. We have assigned screen time. For the little ones, we have something called Class Dojo. So they have activities which they can do at any time whenever the parent is free or the parent comes home in the evening. They can do those activities with the kids. Screen time is, yes, limited. And as my colleague just said, that if online learning has to become a part and parcel, we will have to get used to it. If you can remember when TV began, right? There was so much of talk, so much of advice that TV is bad, and then came the computers, and then came the iPads, and then came the Kindle, and children are on screen time. As I just told you, even young parents, they put the iPad in front of the kid when they are maybe a year old. But it's okay. So the parent takes the decision and feels it's okay. So when the school takes a decision and says that rather than keeping the child without any kind of information, any kind of an education, we would have to have a bit of screen time. We would have to have ours in such a way that learning happens, but at the same time that it is not being abused. So yes, it will have to be a balance.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think that is what something that I also agree with, and I'm sure all our panelists will agree that there is no alternative as such available to us, and we have to adapt. And definitely the role of teachers and also I think parents become very crucial in, and that's what I was mentioning in my opening remarks, that parents have an added responsibility. They had it before, but now a critical responsibility of ensuring that their kids are aligned and doing what is required of them, and not deviating from their education and getting into wrong things. And there is a whole lot of different webinar that we can do on online abuse that happens. So quickly, we are running out of time. I'm taking the next question. This is from Mr. Bishesh Adhikari. He talks about the uncertainty. He says, what if the lockdown is continued for more time in coming 5 to 6 months, as the vaccine will take time? Will you try to complete the syllabus online, or there will be a year loss for all the students? I think, Vishesh, I can answer it on behalf of panel. I think, as we said, it's a very uncertain situation, but the education should be continued for all our students. So definitely the institutions and the governments will adapt so that there is no loss of year or loss of education. And if online education is the way forward for next coming few months, then probably we will continue doing that. So I'll just move on to the next question. I hope this answers your question. Prabha has asked another question. She says, I think did any of the panelists find any misbehavior problems on part of your students while you were having those classes? And if there is an example that you have of how you dealt with that problem of students not being focused enough in online classes. So any of you would like to take it, please let me know.
So maybe I can just
Vinita.
point out one thing.
Yeah, Vijay, aap bataiye. You tell us.
Usually, when the students are bored, they switch it on, they simply go off. So we cannot see them.
Okay.
We cannot, in a classroom, when you're teaching, no. When we're teaching face-to-face, it's much easier whether they are aware or not. But in this digital teaching, teaching and learning process, you never know whether the students are around or not.
Okay, and so thank you, Vijay. And Mrs. Shenoy, you want to say something?
Yes, what I want to say is that we are dealing with children. We are not dealing with saints, right? So if they are children, they are going to be up to mischief, and we should be ready for that as teachers, right? So we've had little incidents of the children muting the teacher because we do it on Microsoft Teams. You have the kids muting each other, muting the teacher. So we managed to deal with that, and we told the kids that, this is not what you do. And then we got access to who should mute and who can't mute. So we got one step ahead. And mind you, as I said, we at least are digital immigrants. They are digital natives. They're very quick, and why not? We want them to be smart. So we want the children to be very clever. We want them to come up with ideas, but we also want them to be a little bit, learning from it. So there was a bit of mischief, but not to the extent, and yes, as you said, that they may not attend the class. So for that, we are trying to enhance the way teachers are teaching, because yes, they were used to the face-to-face teaching the kids, so you can see physically this child is poking somebody, or this child is pinching someone, or this child has not opened his book. You could see it physically, but now when they're online, you don't see that. So we have to keep asking questions to different kids one by one to see that they are all online. And we have to come up with strategies. We also are learning here. There's no book which tells us this is the right way or that is the wrong way. No. So I told you, my team has been very, very good in this fact that we have been very collaborative. People were able to share with each other, good practices and things which did not go well. I think that's the thing. And with kids, I think we should expect, all kinds of mischief and a little bit of playfulness. Why not?
Perfect. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Good.
Jigme or Shikha, you want to chip in? You want to have your thoughts here? Let me know if you want to do that, or we move on to.
Same thing. I think it's
I
absolutely.
hope the kids were not listening.
Maybe I can't say.
They're smarter, man. They're quicker and smarter than us.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
sorry,
yeah,
Shikha.
Shikha, you're saying something.
So I agree with everything that Vinita ma'am has said. It's happened to us. Like I said, as a parent, also my daughter came running to me and said, she knows which student muted ma'am today. I said, but you didn't do it, and you report to her. It's fun. At times, kids are going to be kids. We have to be one step ahead, and we figured out how we can deal with this, and we, trying to figure that out. So it's perfectly fine. It's going to happen. I've got another incident where kids, when I have taken sessions, I've had kids with their videos off. Parents have also been sitting. When I talk a mail to parents, I got an email. No, ma'am, we attended your class. So that also happens. It's part of a learning curve, right? We all have to
Yes, ma'am.
skills.
We have to keep in mind that we are teaching the kids as well as the parents.
In fact, we call them helicopter parents. So these helicopter parents also, in fact, as a principal, I attend all the classes. I try to attend a lot of classes, and I have learned languages. I've learned a bit of French and Sinhala and maybe art. So yes, why not? Parents also are there, and we are happy because if we can get some positive comments, we also will improve. As I said, it's new for all of us. So every day we take as a learning curve, yes.
It is. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Wonderful. Wonderful. So now I move on to the next question, which is from my dear friend and colleague of Mr. BJ Mahajan, Chiranjeevi Sharma. Thank you so much, sir, for listening in. I hope you're doing well. He's a counselor at Buddha Kanta School along with Mr. Mahajan. He has asked, how do you think, how important is the collaboration with parents for the teachers? And are you having parents as an important stakeholder of the new form of teaching? So I think this is a very prudent question for all of us, and I want all of you to answer this. What is the role of parents, do you think, in your new teaching methodology? So we can start with Shikha, probably. Shikha, you can talk about what do you think about the parents?
Alone. Parents have to be involved. Like I said, they even now have the privilege of attending classes, So we need, there has to be regular communication between students, parents and teachers. I know as a school, we ensure that we are available to parents all the time. Parents can email us, reach out to teachers, even had virtual PTLs, if I may go on and say, because it's very important. My daughter goes to the same school that I do. We've had teachers call up and say how the child has adjusting since she's a junior school kid to the classes, and I had a chit chat with her class teacher on this. So this collaboration is very important. The teachers are taking the time out and the pain to call up everybody and figure out whether a kid is having issues with online and how to deal with it. Those queries and those things are very important. That open feedback and communication is needed for the major stakeholder here, which is our students, for us to benefit them. I'm sure most of us as educators will agree that we put in a lot of onus to collaborating with the parents because we can't do this alone.
Thank you,
Yes.
Shikha. I now move on to Jigme. If, ma'am, you can talk about the role of parents in your teaching now.
I think when we look at COVID-19, if it has done anything good, that is making our parents more responsible. I thought that was something good that we can see in COVID-19. I think most of our parents are becoming more responsible. And then some of the parents told me that they are also equally learning with the children. Because when the lessons are aired on the television, they'll have to watch the lesson along with their child and then help the child to do the follow-up works. That's a good thing. And then, but sadly, I think most of the parents cannot help children, especially those parents who are not literate. The problem is with this other group of parents, but especially with the educated and literate group of parents, I'm happy they are becoming more responsible. And then I think if they can understand their part, how important part that they can play in educating their children, I think this is a very good lesson for all the parents to be part of educating their teachers, not just rely on the teachers.
Yes, ma'am, that is very true.
Thank you. Vijay, if you would like to chip in and talk about the role of
Yes.
parents.
Parents can evaluate teachers' teaching for improvement. Like when we're teaching in classroom, we're teaching only the students. Whatever the teacher tells the students, they accept it easily, whether they like it or not. Now, the teachers are also more concerned that they need to be prepared better to teach the students, not only dictating the students. I also teach in the morning. I teach exercises, actually. I demonstrate and let them do it. Along with the students and along with students, the parents also. I invite them. I don't know how many of them turn up. A few of them turn up and they, because it is fun. These are new opportunities for all the teachers also, for me also. This is a learning phase for all of us as well, students.
Perfect. Thank you, Vijay.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to the last panelist, Mrs. Shenoy, if you can talk about as a principal, what do you think the role of parents is in your new online teaching methodology? How important are the parents?
Well, it's the school, the parent, the child, it's a triangle. And I think it's the parent's child who we are looking after in the school. They are equally responsible. And participation of parents is definitely very important. When I say participation, it means being able to be collaborative with the school, supporting in what the school does. Um, because parents are sending their children to school, or rather choosing the school which they think is best for their child. In Sri Lanka, of course, there are many schools available and people can put their child into any school. So if a parent has selected a school, they understand the values of the school, the culture of the school, and that's what they have chosen for their child. Their support is very vital in allowing the school to carry out the school's policies, what the school has decided. And if at all parents don't agree with something or have a problem with something, definitely they are able to come and raise their concern. What would not be a good idea is when parents form WhatsApp groups and have those forwards to each other complaining, because one person's complaint need not be another person's complaint. But if somebody doesn't know better, they take it as their own complaint. So we would like parents to be very supportive, which we do have. We do have parents who are rather supportive to the school. And as I told you, we do have some helicopter parents, especially in the smaller classes, wanting to be there and wanting to see what the kids are doing, which is also very good. What again is very detrimental is when the parents are trying to answer the questions for the kids. So if you give a test and the parent is trying to answer the quiz or the questions for the kids, what are they trying to tell the child? It's okay to cheat? So that's coming from the home, right? So we want parents to be there. We want parents to be supportive. And we cannot leave the parents out. They are part and parcel of the school.
Thank you, Mrs. Shenoy. I think we are just about hit the timing, closing timing for this webinar. I would just want to leave you with two comments that we have got. One is a dear friend Prabha. She says, "I am loving the exchange between the panelists. This is thought-provoking. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge." And another is from Jyoti Sharma. She has given regards to Ms. Jigme. She says, "Good to know about Bhutan and how you have planned your education. Thank you so much for sharing." So on that note, I want to say a warm thank you to all of you. We missed Tohed today because of the health issues, and we pray for him and he gets well soon. but all of you who were able to take time out for this, Mr. Shenoy, Mrs. Choden, Jigme, Shikha, Vijay, thank you so much. I enjoyed my time with you guys, and I didn't see the clock. It's already 2:30, and we were hoping to close at around 2:10. But I think that's a good sign that we had a very substantial dialogue between all of us, and I hope to again be a part of this conversation again, and probably in 2 months or 3 months time we'll get back again to see where we have reached, or the schools have reopened or not reopened. But thank you so much, and thank you to the audience for being here today. All the counselors, teachers who came in from around the world. I can see people from US, UK also being here at odd timing there. So thank you so much. Even without the time zones, you are here. Thank you so much. I wish you all the very best. And Shikha, Jigme, Vinita, Vijay, you can say your goodbyes. I'm just about to close this.
Ayubowan from Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka is a lovely country, so welcome to all of you.
Stay safe. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
Take care. Bye.